For years, the world wondered what really happened behind Harry and Meghan's marriage troubles. Rumors came and went. Headlines flared and died. But through it all, Harry stayed silent, tight-lipped, controlled, loyal to the woman he left an entire monarchy for. Until now. Because according to sources close to the prince, Harry has finally begun to open up about what happened behind those closed Montecito gates. And what he's sharing isn't just painful, it's devastating. Not the petty drama, not the gossip. The real story. The parts he never thought he'd be forced to reveal. The betrayals he never imagined would come from the person he believed he could trust with everything. And once you hear what Meghan allegedly did to him, how deep the manipulation ran, how personal the humiliation became, you'll understand why insiders say this isn't just a marriage breaking down. It's a collapse. A controlled burn. A private war fought with secrets sharp enough to wound a prince. This is the truth Harry's been carrying. And it's worse than anyone guessed. Friends and sources close to him say he's been restless lately, watching every headline, carrying a weight that has grown heavier with each passing month. A legal consultant familiar with the Sussex Circle claims Harry finally shared details about struggles and pressures he has faced behind the scenes, stories he kept private to protect his family and the people he loves. The burden of secrecy has taken its toll, leaving him exhausted and overwhelmed. Tonight, we explore what insiders say about the emotional and personal challenges he has faced. This is the moment Harry's private world began to surface, and the cracks in the public story started to appear. Because what Harry is revealing changes everything we thought we knew about his California life, his relationship with Meghan, and why he can never go back. Let's begin with the moment everything cracked. The leak that shattered the last of Harry's silence. It started with a whisper. Not a scandal about charity, family values, or royal duty. No, this one cut straight to the bone. A leak so personal, so humiliating that even experienced royal reporters hesitated when the headlines dropped. Radar Online didn't just wake up one morning knowing the exact medication Prince Harry kept in his bathroom cabinet. That kind of detail? That comes from inside the walls. From someone who knows the smell of your shampoo and the shape of your routine. From someone who has access to your most private spaces. And sources claimed that someone was Meghan Markle. Let me walk you through exactly what was leaked and why it matters. The moment the world saw it, finasteride, minoxidil, the side effects, there was a pause. These weren't just hair loss treatments. These were the kinds of medications rumored to come with consequences no man wants made public. Mood shifts. Emotional swings. And according to insiders, performance issues that hit exactly where a man's pride lives. Harry's private medical life became the internet's punchline overnight. But here's what makes this leak particularly calculated. It wasn't just a careless slip. The language around it was soft, almost sweet. Friends concerned. Whispers of Harry changing. Subtle hints that the intimacy had faded because of him. Do you see what happened here? Meghan didn't just reveal his insecurity. She framed it. She packaged it. She handed it to the world like a headline waiting to explode. For Harry, it was war before he even realized the first shot had been fired. Because once the leak hit the press, the pattern revealed itself quickly. This wasn't about medication. It wasn't even about hair. It was about control, the kind Meghan had always understood better than anyone else in Harry's life. This was the person who had built an entire public identity on narrative, timing, and precision. Every moment of her rise from Hollywood actress to duchess had been crafted with an uncanny instinct for public perception. So when the marriage began to fracture, she didn't yell. She didn't confront. She redirected the spotlight. Sources say she began laying the groundwork long before Harry caught on. She never said, "I'm leaving." Instead, she suggested softly to confidants that something was wrong with him, that he was distant, different, not the man she married. Little fragments that, when stitched together, painted a picture of a wife heartbroken by a husband who had somehow failed her. And the headlines followed exactly that script. Meghan was calm, polished, misunderstood. Harry became the one who was weak, frail, cracking under pressure. It didn't matter what the truth was. What mattered was who told the story first. Behind closed doors, Harry wasn't just losing his marriage. He was losing the narrative of his own life. The same woman who once held his secrets close was now allegedly using them as ammunition. And each revelation reminded him that privacy in her hands wasn't intimacy. It was leverage. Now, you might be thinking, maybe this was just one leaked detail. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe someone else had access to that information. But what I'm about to tell you next will make it crystal clear that this was no accident. This was strategy. Because the medication leak was just the beginning. The tip of an iceberg that goes much, much deeper. Comment below. Do you think Meghan leaked Harry's medical information intentionally? Or could there be another explanation? When we come back, we're examining what life was really like inside the Montecito mansion after their second child was born. Because according to sources, everything went cold long before any leaks hit the press. Stay with us. Long before the leak, before the headlines, before the quiet war began, their home had already changed. What the world thought was a fairy tale escape to California had turned into a quiet battlefield. Sources close to the couple say that after their second child, everything went cold. Not dramatic, not explosive, just cold. The kind of cold that settles into a house like fog. The passion that once electrified their public appearances faded behind the gates. Date nights disappeared. Late-night laughter evaporated. The couple that once seemed inseparable now moved like coworkers sharing an expensive office, united only by routine and responsibility. Imagine living in a multi-million-dollar mansion with someone you used to adore, and now you can barely stand to be in the same room with them. That's what sources describe. Meghan buried herself in image projects, anything that kept her in control of how she appeared to the outside world. Brand development, strategic partnerships, social media curation. Everything calculated, nothing spontaneous. Harry buried himself in survival, clinging to the hope that the warmth he once felt might return. But it didn't. Insiders say he felt rejected long before any leaks hit the press. And Meghan? She felt bored. The spark that had driven their whirlwind romance was gone. And instead of trying to mend what was breaking, she allegedly began planning the exit. Quietly. Carefully. The same way she planned everything else. Because in Meghan's world, she doesn't get left. She leaves. And Harry, unaware of the storm gathering behind him, kept trying to hold together a marriage that had already begun to crumble from within. When people look back at this breakup, they'll talk about the leaks, the rumors, the humiliation. But the truth is, the fall didn't happen in a single explosion. It happened in stages. Quiet, deliberate, and years in the making. And once you map out those stages, the entire story becomes uncomfortably clear. A global spectacle wrapped in hymns and diamonds. The palace held its breath. The world fell in love. And Meghan stepped into the royal spotlight with the confidence of someone who already knew where the cameras would land. Behind the fairy tale smile, sources say she was already thinking ahead. Platforms. Partnerships. The long-term brand potential of becoming a duchess. Quick. Glamorous. But with a chill just beneath the surface. Meghan allegedly told friends Harry was clingy. Emotionally intense. Too attached. Harry believed he'd finally found someone who saw the man beyond the title. But what he didn't realize was that she saw the title just fine. This is where everything shifted. Once the second baby arrived, the house fell into an uncomfortable silence. Harry tried to hold on, but the warmth wasn't coming back. Meghan focused on curated projects and public-facing ventures. Harry felt rejected, sidelined, and increasingly unsure where he fit into her future plans. This is when the leaks begin. Small at first, then sharper. Private details, making their way into tabloids. Each one chipping away at Harry's sense of security. For him, it was a violation. For her, sources claim it was strategy. Not a divorce filing. Not a public statement. Just quiet, calculated pressure. Meghan allegedly showing clips to select friends. Harry passed out. Harry partying. Harry at his lowest. Each moment a reminder that she held the stronger hand. By the time the medication story hit the press, the collapse wasn't beginning. It was already over. And what's coming next, the alleged video vault that sources say Meghan kept as insurance, is even more disturbing. Comment below. Have you ever watched a relationship fall apart in stages like this? Where everything looks fine on the outside, but it's dying slowly from within. When we come back, we're diving into the most chilling allegation yet, that Meghan didn't just leak information. She allegedly kept footage. A private library of Harry's worst moments. And she showed some of those clips to friends. Stay with us. If the medication leak wounded Harry publicly, the alleged video vault destroyed him privately. This is the part of the story insiders whisper about with lowered voices. Because it changes the tone from marital tension to something darker. Something far more strategic. According to multiple sources, Meghan didn't just keep messages or emails. She kept footage. Clips recorded during their most personal moments. Some innocent. Others deeply compromising. Let me be specific about what sources are claiming exists. Harry passed out after nights he'd rather forge. Harry stumbling through parties. Harry possibly using substances during moments when the world assumed he was healing. Even intimate videos that were never meant for anyone's eyes but theirs. And the most chilling detail? Word is she showed some of these clips to friends. Not to ask for help. Not to gain support. But to prove a point. Think about that for a moment. Why would someone record their spouse's lowest moments? Why would they keep that footage? And why would they show it to other people? The answer, according to sources, is simple: leverage. It wasn't shouting. It wasn't threats. It was a quiet flex. The kind of move that reminds someone exactly how much of their life is in your hands. A private library of a prince's worst moments. Sitting in the phone of a woman preparing her exit. For Harry, this wasn't just leverage. It was a countdown. Sources say he began living in fear of what might surface next. Every argument, every distance in the house, every cold glance came with the knowledge that at any moment, one more clip could hit the press. And the worst part? He had no idea how many there were. Can you imagine living like that? Walking on eggshells in your own home because your spouse has documented your worst moments and could release them at any time? That's not a marriage. That's hostage-taking. Let me paint you a picture of what Harry's daily reality became. He wakes up, checks the headlines immediately, scanning for what might have leaked overnight. His heart racing every time he sees a Sussex-related story because he doesn't know if this will be the day another secret comes out. He goes through the day hyper-aware of every interaction with Meghan. Is she recording? Is this conversation being documented? Will something he says in private become public tomorrow? He tries to be present with his children, but there's always that background anxiety. That knowledge that the mother of his children has power over him that goes beyond their relationship. And at night, he lies awake wondering, what does she have? What will she use next? And when will this nightmare end? Now, some people might say, well, maybe she was just documenting things because she felt unsafe. Maybe she needed evidence in case things went wrong. But sources close to the situation say that's not what this was. If you're documenting abuse for your own protection, you keep it private. You show it to lawyers, therapists, people who can actually help. You don't show clips of your husband's compromising moments to friends at social gatherings like you're sharing vacation photos. That's not protection. That's intimidation. That's control. That's making sure everyone knows you hold all the cards. And here's what makes this even more calculated. The clips Meghan allegedly showed to friends weren't the worst ones. They were just bad enough to make it clear she had more. Just embarrassing enough to demonstrate her power without fully destroying him yet. It's a classic manipulation tactic. Show just enough to prove you have leverage. Keep the truly devastating material in reserve. Because once you've used your nuclear option, it's gone. But as long as people know you have it, you maintain control indefinitely. Comment below. If these allegations are true, what do you think should happen? Should there be legal consequences for recording someone without consent in their most vulnerable moments? When we come back, we're examining an even more explosive allegation. One that insiders treated like a lit match in a dry forest. One that, if true, would be a royal-level crisis. The surrogacy rumors that allegedly left Harry rattled to his core. Stay with us. Only after the relationship fractures, the leaks, the video vault, the humiliation, only then does the most explosive allegation surface. And it doesn't appear at the front of the story for a reason. This was a whisper that emerged in the late game. Quietly, cautiously. The kind of rumor insiders treat like a lit match in a dry forest. Sources claimed that Meghan never carried the children herself. According to one alleged insider, a medical professional even confirmed the use of surrogates. Now, let me be very clear before we go further. I cannot independently verify this claim. The sources who mentioned it did so with extreme caution. And there are legitimate reasons why someone might choose surrogacy that have nothing to do with deception. But the reason this allegation matters, whether true or not, is because of what it represents in the broader story of Harry's reality crumbling. Because in Britain, lineage is not gossip. It is law. It is identity. It is history. If true, and even whispered as possible, this would be a royal-level crisis. Questions the palace never wanted raised. Doubts about tradition, legitimacy, and the honesty of a woman who had built her public persona on transparency and healing. For Meghan, it was another narrative she could spin. Privacy, health, trauma, protection. But for Harry, sources say it left him rattled. Think about it from his perspective. A man who once vowed to give his children the childhood he lost, now wrestling with the possibility that parts of his own story had been hidden from him. Here's the question that allegedly keeps Harry up at night. If Meghan could hide something this fundamental, if she could, what else has she hidden? Because once trust breaks at that level, everything becomes suspect. Every story she told, every explanation she gave, every decision they made together. If the foundation of your family might be built on a secret, how do you trust anything else? Sources close to Harry say this rumor, more than the leaks, more than the videos, more than the medication humiliation, shook him in a way nothing else did.
Because it wasn't about him.
It was about his children, his legacy, his family line. And suddenly, Harry found himself in the same position he'd spent his entire adult life trying to avoid, questioning whether his children's story would be defined by secrets and lies, just like his mother's story was. The irony is devastating. He left the royal family specifically to escape that cycle, to build something honest, authentic, real. And now he's facing the possibility that he just traded one set of secrets for another. Let's be clear about why this allegation is particularly damaging, even as a rumor. It calls into question every pregnancy photo, every birth announcement, every detail Meghan shared about carrying the children. If even some of that was performance, what was real? It raises questions about why such a secret would be necessary. If there were legitimate medical reasons for surrogacy, why not be honest? Why create an elaborate facade? It suggests a level of deception so comprehensive, so calculated, that it would reframe everything else in the relationship. If Meghan could orchestrate something this significant, what else was orchestrated? It puts Harry in an impossible position. Does he demand answers? Does he investigate? Does he simply accept the uncertainty and move forward? And fifth, it gives Meghan yet another form of leverage. Because now Harry has to worry. If he pushes back on anything, will she threaten to reveal truths about the children that would damage them forever? This is the trap Harry finds himself in. Every secret Meghan holds, whether about medications, videos, or the children's origins, becomes a chain binding him to silence. He can't speak freely. He can't defend himself fully. He can't even ask questions without risking explosive consequences. And that's exactly how Meghan, sources say, designed it. Comment below. If you were in Harry's position, and you suspected your partner had been dishonest about something this fundamental, what would you do? When we come back, we're putting all the pieces together. The medication leak, the cold house, the video vault, the surrogacy whispers. We're examining what this pattern reveals about manipulation, control, and what happens when you realize the person you trusted most might have been using you all along. Stay with us. This is where the entire narrative comes full circle. Because at its core, this wasn't the story of a prince betrayed or a duchess escaping. It was the story of two people living two very different truths until the gap between them became a canyon neither could cross. Let me walk you through the pattern that sources say Harry is finally seeing clearly. Meghan didn't arrive in Harry's life by accident. She networked. She positioned herself. She created opportunities to enter his orbit. That's not necessarily sinister. Ambitious people do that all the time. But what Harry is allegedly realizing now is that the woman who was strategic about meeting him was equally strategic about managing him once they were together. Gradually distance Harry from his support system. Make him feel misunderstood by his family. Suggest his friends are jealous or unsupportive. Create an us against the world dynamic where Meghan is his only true ally. Control how their story is told. Make sure Meghan is always the victim, always the one trying to do good while being misunderstood. Paint every obstacle as persecution rather than normal friction. Document everything. Keep receipts. Record moments. Collect information that could be useful later. Not for safety, for control. When the relationship starts to fracture, don't blow up all your leverage at once. Release it strategically. Keep Harry off balance. Make him fear what might come next. Prepare to leave with the narrative intact. Make sure when the marriage ends, Meghan emerges as the sympathetic figure who tried everything, and Harry is seen as the broken one who couldn't keep it together. Does this sound familiar to anyone? This pattern of isolate, control, document, intimidate, and exit? It's textbook manipulation. The kind therapists warn about. The kind that leaves victims confused because they can't quite pinpoint when things went wrong. They just know they're trapped. Let's look at the evidence Harry now has in front of him. Meghan's relationship history shows a pattern of dating strategically, each partner more successful and connected than the last, culminating in a prince. The speed of their courtship and marriage. When someone sees an opportunity that might not come again, urgency is natural. Her behavior changed dramatically after the wedding was secured. Before, eager, accommodating. After, demanding, difficult. Her insistence on monetizing royal connection while claiming to want privacy. If you truly want out, why hold on to titles? Why build a brand around being a duchess? The medication leak that could only have come from someone with intimate access to his private spaces. The alleged video collection shown to friends, not for protection but for power demonstration. The surrogacy rumors that, true or not, reveal how many questions Harry has about what's real in his own life. Her treatment of her own family. Meghan cut off her father and most relatives with stunning efficiency once she no longer needed them. Harry now wonders if he's next. Imagine being Prince Harry right now. Seeing all this evidence laid out. Connecting dots you didn't want to connect. Realizing that the woman you gave up everything for might have been playing a very different game than you thought. You traded a kingdom for what you believed was love. But what if it was never love? What if it was always transaction? And here's the kicker. Meghan probably doesn't even see herself as manipulative. In her mind, she's just someone who knows how to navigate the world. Someone who understands that relationships are strategic. Someone who plans ahead and protects herself. She'd call it being smart, being practical, being a survivor. But Harry, who grew up in a world where duty, honor, and loyalty actually meant something, sees it differently. He sees betrayal. He sees exploitation. He sees someone who used his trauma, his insecurities, and his desperate need to be valued for her own purposes. And the worst part? He can't even fully express his anger or hurt because she still holds all that leverage. The videos, the secrets, the narratives she's seeded with friends and media, the potential to paint him as the villain if he speaks out. So Harry is stuck. Trapped in a marriage that's already over but can't cleanly end because the woman he married has made sure she holds all the power. Comment below. Do you think Harry will ever be able to escape this situation? Or has Meghan made it impossible for him to leave without destroying himself? When we come back, we're looking at where Harry goes from here. Because understanding you've been manipulated is one thing. Figuring out how to escape is something else entirely. Stay with us. Imagine Harry now, a man who once walked away from the crown for love, believing he had finally found freedom. A man who traded castles for California sunshine, titles for peace, protocol for passion. And yet he stands here, stripped of the very things he thought he protected. His privacy leaked, his dignity humiliated, his marriage hollow, his sense of self shattered. Every secret he entrusted became a headline. Every vulnerability became a weapon. Every private moment became a rumor waiting for release. And Meghan?
Poised. Polished.
Already moving forward. Her leaks. Her receipts. Her carefully crafted reinvention. Each one a souvenir from a story she controlled from beginning to end. Because in this version of events, she didn't fight to stay. She fought to win. And when she said, "I will," at the altar, sources say she wasn't promising forever. She was promising victory. So, what does Harry do now? He has a few options, none of them good. Stay silent. Continue the marriage. Live with the secrets and the leverage, and the fear of what might surface next. Protect his children from public scandal by accepting his own private prison. Quietly separate. Create distance. Rebuild independently. But risk Meghan deploying her full arsenal of damaging information in retaliation. Go public with his own truth. Admit he was wrong, manipulated, deceived. Risk massive humiliation but potentially find freedom in honesty. Fade away. Step back from public life entirely. Let the Sussex brand die naturally and focus on private healing, even though it's financially unsustainable. Sources say Harry has considered all of these paths, and every one of them involves significant loss. Because that's what happens when you make irreversible choices based on incomplete information. When you burn bridges you can never rebuild. When you give someone else complete power over your narrative. Harry gave up his family, his military career, his country, his royal role, his purpose. All of it. Sacrificed for a woman whose sources say saw him not as a husband, but as an opportunity. And now he lives in that beautiful California mansion, watching the Pacific sunset, carrying secrets that are crushing him, married to someone who allegedly has the power to destroy him if he steps out of line. The prince who ran from the throne to build a new life watched that life collapse beneath him. And the duchess who once stood beside him? She walked away untouched. Chin high. Narrative secure. In the end, this wasn't a love story. It was a lesson in power, in control, in the unspoken truth that the person who tells the story owns the story. And Harry? He now knows that even without a crown, some people are still born into a battle they never saw coming. The truth Harry couldn't share until now is simply this. He married someone who documented his worst moments, who leaked his private information, who isolated him from everyone who loved him, who built leverage so comprehensive that he can't escape without destroying himself. He's not a prince anymore. He's a prisoner, trapped by his own choices and the woman who knew exactly how to exploit them. What do you think Harry should do? Should he stay and protect his children from scandal? Should he risk everything to escape? Or should he just accept that this is his life now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe because this story is far from over. Harry's silence is breaking. His truth is emerging. And what comes next could change the royal story forever. Until next time, remember, sometimes the person who promises to save you is the one you need saving from.